Okay, here we go. Yeah. Are we here? Are we live? All right, live from Wonderland. Okay, so sweet. Okay, so where are we at? Well, let me just say, okay, so Sid's here. Sid might be asking some questions along the way. And you want to say hi, Sid? You just say hi.
Hello.
All right, that's Sid. Sweet. Okay. Today we're going to be looking at the community standards, and so we're going to be moving on from the stuff that we're already moving into the next month, but we're not really writing these in order. So, all right. So we just generated Threats MD, right? And the last chapter 1 is about generating Threats MD, and John Whiteman and I presented on that at AppSec Pacific Northwest. Was it last weekend on Saturday? And that recording is not yet live on their YouTube, but we'll post that when it is. So then, and there in that demo, right, we saw some of the work from chapter 1, where we that tutorial series in chapter 1 that where we're doing to build the threats MD file so as to go down the dependency rabbit hole again, right, and figure out what is that tree of dependencies that are going to be within our threat model, right? So we're just jumping ahead a little bit here due to some other stuff that I have to do. So we're taking what we can get where we can get it. So right now we're gonna jump into what we would have otherwise done started next month, but we'll just do them both in parallel now. Is the community standards and trying to take a proactive approach to the community standards. So GitHub has this model, which we all think it's great. This open source guides, and so we want Alice to be a proactive open source guide, right? So we want Alice to guide the developers in our community who are going to be developing and maintaining our second and third party plugin ecosystem, and make sure that their projects are of high quality, so that we know that when you use plugins within the DFFML ecosystem, you have some assurance on the level of quality of what you're getting, right? So let's dive into this. So what do we need to do this, right? So we need these files, and GitHub has already provided us with some standard content for these files. So what we can do is we can just have Alice proactively go out and we can say, hey, Alice, help, or Alice, please contribute. Let's see, what should we structure the command as? Alice, please contribute contributor guidelines, and then the project URL, right? So that way, or no, maybe we could do Alice, please work on, because Alice is our, so Alice is our remote developer, right? So we're saying, Alice, please work on contributor covenant, or let's see, okay, so all right, let's structure the CLI command, right? So we want Alice to help us. How do we ask her? So let's add our references, right? So I'm going to jump right into writing this documentation page here, and then we're going to get the bare bones structure of our docs page down, and then after we've got the bare bones structure of our docs page down, what we're going to do is we're going to move into writing the code, which will be the product of the tutorial, which is the docs page that we've been editing, right? And in that we will basically take this snippet, which we start with up here, right? And it won't work at the beginning of the tutorial, and then at the end of the tutorial, it will work, right? And so what is work? Well, work in this case is we want Alice to open an issue with Markdown, with the Markdown formatted text, similar to the threats MD file, which we generated for the living threat models. We want to have it be a sort of checklist, which is a meta issue. And that meta issue will then open issues for each of the items in the checklist. And once, when it does that, each of the items in the checklist will be one of these community standards files, all the ones that are files, and we can easily grab templates for and make this happen. We're not going to try to do everything if we don't know how. Right now, we're just going to sort of get a set, maybe 5 of them, or something, right? And so once again, we're going to take this proactive approach. She'll open the issues at our request. And then she will attempt to open pull requests for the ones that she sees potential options for. And in the future, some options which we could expand this flow, we could potentially start, background tasks to then have Alice monitor those threads for comments, to actually interact with folks and brainstorm with them on what the content of the templated files should be before she raises the PR. But that could be something that we do in the future. So, all right. So yeah, we're going to do that for 5 files. Oh, and so then what we can do is we can split this. So we focused heavily on overlays, but we need to see some results here first. So this is going to be really the focus of today. Is making sure that we can get those issues and PRs associated so that Alice can take a proactive approach to the open source guides and the fulfilling of the community standards for a project, right? So that she can actually start helping. Then after we know that she can help and she's been successfully helping a project, right? Then we're going to start to split out the creation of the issues and the PRs from the rest of the flow. So like that threats MD, we're going to work with that as a base file, and then we're going to basically rename some of that stuff and make it about the community standards, and add in the issue creation and the PR creation. And then so when we go to make it an overlay, we're just going to pull those out. We're going to put them in a separate file. Then we're going to go back and we're going to revisit volume 0, right? Where we, let's see, volume 0, chapter 1, where we're doing the theory and fleshing that out and really looking at the architecture of Alice rather than the implementation, which is the entity, right? And so we're going to get into that. And we're going to look at how the work that we were doing in Python can already be done on the command line. And so if we want, to build this ghost in the shell, then we're going to think about how do we build a shell and how do we capture, all this chain of system context, this train of thought. We'll jump back into that momentarily, build that with our CLI command, so not as fleshed out, losing some of those implementations that are stored in memory just for now, so we can flesh that out. And then we will go and let's see, then we'll go write the shell so that we can capture the herstory of commands there. And then we will do a automated translation of these engineering. So after we've written a few of these tutorials, what we're going to do is, and we've gotten to this point, we're going to write the shell for the ghost, and we're going to have it output, right, because it is a data flow. One of the overlays, which we will run over it as an output overlay, will be the synthesis of an IPython notebook file, which we'll include in the docs page, so that effectively what we'll end up doing is training, we'll have a data flow, which is Alice, which will go through the recording transcripts and the video recording and link it up with this notebook file so that we can automatically generate the documentation off of our work as is recorded or streamed. It doesn't have to be to YouTube, but we can plug the text to speech with anything else. So let's see. Okay, so that's the near field next steps. All right. So okay, let's get into it. So, great. All right. All right. So okay, we have the templates. So here, yeah. So first, what do we do? Well, what's the generic process, right? So we always start with document everything we know, right? So what is everything we know? This is basically our link dump, maybe our from our tabs that we did the other day. Let's just grab all the relevant stuff that we might use as references. So what did we talk about here, right? So we wanted to do recommended community standards. Where's best practice for maintaining? Okay. Okay. We'll just put the recommended community standards. Okay. Okay. So here's our template. Here's the list of files. Stuff to have or must-haves. Okay, so, and then let's just write a little note. What are we doing? We're going to, Alice will be taking, and I'm going to write this in a comment because this is not really something that this is more of a comment on what will be the content there, rather than the content. It's important to distinguish the difference between the voice of the note and the text. So, all right, Alice will be acting as our proactive open source guide to second and third party plugin maintainers and contributors. Okay, so she will attempt to contribute required or helpful community files so as to provide value as soon as possible to the community. Okay, that's our immediate near field objective. Okay. Description, readme. Okay, so here, what is this going to look like? So description, so we're not going to check description. We're only working with Git repos right now, right? So files to check. All right, recommended community standards. All right, so we want let's ask Alice. Or okay, so we want to be able to ask Alice. For help we would like to be able to ask Alice to contribute recommended community standards to our project.
How's it going?
Good. We're streaming live from Wonderland.